everybody. Good afternoon from Berlin. Good evening from Melbourne, handsome Tim. And
Hello.
good morning to Annie Bosler in LA. Oh my goodness, Annie, how early is it for you there?
It's currently 6 a.m., so thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Annie. Heidi, you're in Berlin with us. Everybody meet Heidi Wessel and Annie Bosler, our two star guests for today. So great that you guys could join us, you gals.
Happy to be here.
I'm
And
honored to
Stefan,
be here.
and Stefan Dohr, of course. Stefan, how was your weekend, your week?
Busy
Busy. What did you do? What did you cook?
a lot.
As usual. Yeah, I'm really excited for today's hangout because Heidi and Annie are two of my favorite teachers in the entire world, but I've never actually taken a lesson from them. And Stefan and I were talking about beginners and the first years of horn playing and talking about how important it is to get that right at the beginning because otherwise, later in life, so many people get embouchure problems, back problems, muscle problems, all sorts of things. And they come to us and we think, gosh, if only they'd done this right from the beginning. And this is what Heidi and Annie do. And I'm in total awe of it, Stefan. I'm sure I know you are as well.
I am, absolutely. I can't remember my first lesson, so I'm happy to go back.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so you've all got your horns. Welcome to all of you on the website. I've got your questions here. If you have questions, we'll get to some a bit later. We thought we'd structure it like this. We're going to have a little virtual lesson from Heidi and Annie about what they think is important in the very first hours and weeks of playing the horn. And then after about 30 minutes, we're going to talk about what's important for teaching these beginning steps and the first things that you do. So at the beginning, I hope all of you have your horns and you're welcome to try out these exercises with Stefan and myself. We're a bit nervous about what we have to do because, yeah, we haven't done exercises like this in a long time, right? So let us know where you're watching from, how long you've been playing the horn. It would be great to know that. If you're watching on Facebook, welcome. Let us know the same. How long have you been playing and what do you play? Maybe you don't play the horn. And where you're watching from. We love that. But get your questions in here on the website and I'd say, let's go. Vamos. Okay, who's going first? Annie?
Sure. I would actually ask both of y'all a question to start is when you first took your first lesson, had you already had, were you already in band or did you just show up to a horn teacher with a horn?
I just showed up to my horn teacher who was a trombone teacher. We didn't have a horn teacher in the school.
And I showed up, but I had one of these little hunting horns before, so I was able to bring out quite a lot of notes. So that's why I was taken to a horn teacher, to not annoy the family anymore.
So I would say, at least in the States, we see, at least I see two different types of situations. One where the student just comes in for the first day, they've never played a lesson. Most likely they never even put their horn together. And the mom and dad are just like, here, Annie, we want them to take horn. The second version I see are students who maybe have had band for a couple weeks and then they come in, maybe their director's gotten them to play, their first note, their first scale. And so I see kind of both sides of the coin. So no matter where they come in, the first thing we do is we learn to take the horn out of the case. So if you got your guy, just making sure that the first step is laying the case flat on the ground and then figuring out, most of my young students will have buckles on their case. So we lay it flat and then we open it with the buckles going up. So you open the case and the horn's not rolling out of the case. So that's big step one. If you do have a screw bell horn, for some, very few beginners do, but I've seen it. I've seen one fling the horn bell across the room, and literally we were back at the horn repairman in the first lesson. So
Stefan has been enjoying me trying to learn to screw on my bell after 100 years of playing on a nonga. I still can't do it properly. And anyway, look, we've got the old original one today. So no screw bells.
But the trick that if the student does have it, for the students to mark a spot on the bell, so therefore you can line it up. So if you haven't done that, mark that spot. So then after we get the horn out, we're ready to go. I usually try to fit the student to a chair. So for all the students, look at your chair, sit in your chair. Are your feet touching the ground? Are they hanging? And so I actually keep in our studio here, I keep 3 different size chairs to fit the student. So my youngest I've ever taught is an 8-year-old, and the horn they couldn't even hold the horn. So, on their lap. So we actually had 2 chairs next to each other, and you put the bell on the chair, literally, and that's how we get going. So after After that, I always am walking around the student. That's a big thing, because as you grow and change, that's checking things out. But the next step for all our beginners out there is to make sure that you've got your feet not too close together and not too wide apart. I tell all the young ladies to please not wear dresses in the lesson, especially short skirts, because that's kind of awkward. So our feet are usually about 45 degrees apart. And the bell's on there. So if y'all don't mind, go ahead and put your horns up to your faces. That's great. So what y'all are
home? I hope everyone who's watching is doing this, and if you don't, you got to pretend. Okay, ready.
And so if you look, we've got Stefan. If his stand was directly in front of him, and one of the things to check is are your hips in the chair square with the chair, so you're not sitting at an angle compared to your chair. So how are your hips? And then
sorry, can't.
No. And then the next thing is that your stand is square in front of you, so your hips and your chair and your stand are all square, and then you're putting your horn up. Now Stefan looks like he points his lead pipe maybe a little bit more towards the stand, and Sarah, yours is a little bit your shoulders are square, and either option is fine, just as long as you're not feeling lots of tension through the back and obviously in the back of the neck. Does all that make sense so far?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. And then I'm actually really curious how Heidi does hand position, because there's so many schools of thought on hand position. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole today, but I usually just make sure that the student with the hand position, and I know y'all talked about this on one of the most recent Horn Hangouts as well, but with the hand position, I just try to check with them to make sure they're getting a good opening in the bell. My favorite is one I actually learned from John Zerbel, which he's kind of going in, like you're shaking hands with someone and kind of cupping just a sliver like you're swimming. For young students, it's a good start. And then we put the hand in the bell.
Hello, Stefan. Hello.
You put the hand in the bell on the right side. Sometimes I've seen it on the left, so we've got to move it to the right.
That's very important. We see that sometimes even in like school people playing like that. That's not okay.
And so one of the biggest things I find with students and myself is that we can all get lazy with the hand position. So I'm constantly walking around. How's that hand position? How's that hand position? So it's going on the right side, and I try to have them make sure that depending on how large their hand is and how old they are, the hand's going in a little bit farther, so that we're just making sure we're keeping the circle, the opening, open to get the sound out. Yes, and the last thing I'm making sure is that they're not. I see a lot of chicken arm. So so basically I call it the chicken arm, where your hands in the belt and they're sometimes bringing the chicken arm out, and obviously that takes the hand to a different side of the bell. And so I try to make sure they're inserting the bell. Basically, I call it like perpendicular to the floor. And so as long as they're taking the hand in there, usually we're getting a good hand position to start from the get-go.
Heidi, do you have a particular trick you do at the beginning with your students? I mean, I love this. This is exactly when we have the most incredible hand positions in master classes. I mean, and everyone thinks we're amazing teachers because all we do is open up them a little bit and they sound so much better. And it's like, they're really good teachers, but actually not. We're doing the oldest trick.
The basics.
Yeah, the basics. And this is why it's important at the beginning. But Heidi, what about you with your students when they have a really little hand?
That's interesting. First thing I do when I get my student, I do standing up. I'm not into sitting down. I'm a real nasty teacher, and I make them all stand, except unless they have a broken arm or a broken leg, then they're allowed to sit, and they know it's very short periods of time. So I really prefer to do a lot of setup stuff before the first note. So one of the things, as you said, is holding the horn. First, I get them to hold the horn, and as though they say good, hello to my horn, and I push it against the wall. And the next thing I like is I make them go for a dance with the horn, that they wiggle it around. So they get a good body feeling. They can even move around the shoulders. So they feel like the horn is a round extension. I like the roundness of my arms going through the horn so I can feel like it's round. It's like an energy. Exactly. Moving up and down.
I'm imagining people all over the world doing this right now.
Yeah, that's really great. A little bit of samba, a little salsa. I like really just being free for you with the elbows. And then I let my shoulders just fall. And so you're not flying and not too close, and just as natural a body position as possible. That's for me really important. Standing up straight. I tell my kids all the time to imagine they're in Star Trek, where you go and you say, beam me up, Scotty. And you're in these big, yeah, exactly. So you're in this flow of air and your body's straight, everything's hanging. And I bring the horn up to me. So I make sure that I'm centered with myself. I start with myself, and then I bring the horn to me and I go samba, I go dancing. Okay. So I don't know. Does that fit with you, Annie?
Yeah, I love bringing the horn to you. I say that all the time because I see so many people.
Stefan's on Star Trek.
I was just beamed up, say.
Show off.
Sorry, coming back. Back on the start.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying that I love the concept of bringing the horn to you because I see so many people bringing themselves to the horn, and that it can cause so many problems down. Yeah, so many problems.
No, that's absolutely right, because we see this a lot as well. And that's like putting the horn here, and then we go and play it. Yeah, look, exactly. And that's something I learned. I did a warm-up class with Andrew Bain the other day, and he had the PE teacher from Colburn on it, Janice, and she showed us a track. Have you got Seymour there? Can you show us? Is he there?
Yeah, he's here.
We're not quite there yet, but Seymour.
This is the Seymour. I use him when I teach, and my students call him Seymour because you can see more. I know it's very, very hilarious, but yeah. So in here.
And she was telling us that if this is knicked or in any way not straight, it's taking away our ability to play the horn. So we literally can't play well if we're doing that. Like,
oh,
absolutely, absolutely. My experience is when kids start with a bad posture at the beginning, they fight years with this. Years. If I let 5 lessons at the beginning be sloppy, they have 5 years of stress, And so I'm extremely picky about this, and I get them to practice bringing the horn to their body before they even play a note. They hate this. They really hate it because they just want to blow. But I always get them to just stand up straight, look where they feel, where's their middle, and then bring the horn to me.
Great.
And then back down.
That's great.
And then again, many times, so they put it right at the right spot and then down. So this will be absolutely unconscious. I feel my experience is that the first few lessons, these are just the basics that will accompany them for the rest of their lives. Yeah. And otherwise they have to change it. But this first touches are so important. So standing up straight, feel the room, feel myself, and bring the horn to me. And then I let them blow air. I don't let them blow a note yet. So they just feel, hey, where am I? And get the air out, because that's really the absolute core, is that the air has to be nice and free. That's the Star Trek open channel and blowing the air out, and I'm standing up straight. And that's hard work for the kids to do this first step. Sure. And after they do that, only then do I allow a tone. I'm all grumpy here.
So
I don't know. I want to play a turn. I want to play a note. Please.
Yeah, I know. I want to play a note now, please. Most of the people watching the Hangouts today are can already play. I'm sure we've got some beginners. Let us know if you're, at what stage. I've seen some great things of people that have been playing for a long time. Hannah from Bavaria, when she was 7 when she started. Now she's 15. Morin is from Switzerland, currently in his sixth year of playing the horn. Morin, I think that's a her. Samuel is in Dijon in France, been playing the horn for 12 years. So there's people that can actually play the horn. But I still think it's really important to see how teachers like yourselves who start with beginners start, because we can all really benefit from that. So Annie, what would you now do? We've brought the horn to us. We're sitting or standing straight. We have a good hand position on this side of the bell, not that side of the bell. What should we do now?
I usually have the students find what I call our favorite note. So usually every student can then, usually in the first lesson, we will find at least one note, and it's usually a C, E, or G. I'm talking all written pitches here. And so we'll find whatever their favorite pitch is, and then from there, see how far we can get with that. Usually in the first few lessons, I like to start to incorporate some exercises. And the one that is my favorite is one that actually my high school teacher gave to me, and I've just been using ever since, and some variations on it. But I steal the Herbert L. Clark's from the trumpet book, And so the ba-da-dee-da-da-da-da-da, those, and the sorry trumpet players, but you'll hear my students play them all the time. And what we do is we work up over time to get it so that you can actually do it in one breath, and then you can do it multiple times in one breath. And I find that if the students can play, with nice, great air, and and get that stuff going, that we can actually work it through all the keys. And if you can play a C sharp Herbert Clark, two times through, you're doing pretty well.
I love the eyebrow. Bravo. So actually what you guys probably haven't realized yet, if you're watching on Facebook, you haven't seen this yet. If you're watching on the website, you will have maybe seen this under the video box. If you're on Facebook, hop on over. We have amazing resources for you today. Heidi and Annie have put together some of their favorite etudes, some of their favorite solos for beginners and school horn players. And there's some really special stuff over there. So get on over there, download it while it's up. It's only up for a day. We have another special download for you coming up, but get on over there. The Herbert Clark one is there. Annie, what can we do? Can Stefan and I, can we play it?
You want to do a face off on a Herbert Clark? So okay. You can go farther.
Starting from F. Start from F, no?
An F. Okay, you go first.
How long?
So basically, once you get to the end of the exercise, loop it back to the beginning, and the goal is to see how many times through the Herbert Clark you can make it in one breath.
He's gonna win. All right.
But it'd still be fun to see how many times he can do it.
Okay. Are you all still playing? Have you given up yet like me, or are you listening? Are you playing like Stefan? Stop!
Wow. Bravo.
Bravo.
But technically not fair. But
you could do this in any, if you're an advanced player, you could even go like, you could do it down there, or you can do it in any key. And the idea is to see how far you can get without taking a breath.
And you can come up the octave, down the octave, double tongue, slurred tongue. I mean, there's that. I don't know. I just think they're amazing because they'll take you through every key. So I don't know where you start, Heidi, but.
Okay. Can I just have a short question? Because I can't remember how my teacher taught me where to put the mouthpiece.
Uh-huh.
Like, if someone comes first lesson and he's never played the horn, how would you tell him to put that in your face somewhere? Usually on the mouth, but like.
Now you both have very interesting things to say about this. I'm going to help Heidi demonstrate hers. It's because it's not that easy. Annie, tell us yours. Get Stefan to do yours, and then I'll try and demonstrate Heidi.
To be honest, I just try to just form. I like Heidi's a lot. I kind of want to start incorporating a little bit I've seen so far but I just usually try to find this just a place where they're feeling free about getting the air out, and then we usually just start there. Usually, sometimes I have them just blow air through their mouth and just even put the horn there. Usually, I try to get it right underneath the nose. But I usually also look at the teeth.
No, Stefan, not your nose. Right.
I'm also looking at it.
Yeah.
Very good.
then we work on redirecting your air so it's a little bit more focused. But yeah, that's where we start.
Okay. Got it.
So it would be great. Why don't you guys tell us how you started your first notes? That would be really interesting. I'd love to know. We'd love to read that too. What did your teachers do with you? How did you get your first notes? Heidi has, I hope we're not giving away any state secrets here, Heidi. You've seen I've zoomed right in. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, yeah?
But it's because, look, do you like my earrings? If you can't wear horn earrings on a Horn Hangout, where can you wear horn earrings? Heidi, tell us about this method.
Well, first, I have a few steps that I would go before. I never had a student that actually could start off with one of those exercises that Stefan just played 100 times. My students always have to start with playing a note and figure out where the mouthpiece goes. How does the buzzing So I would go back a couple steps. I always start again before a lot of steps before they start playing the horn. The one is I start with the mouthpiece, and I set the mouthpiece first on the ridge of the white and the lips. See that? Do you see that right here? And I get them to just go. Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
here,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So they get right away the feeling of anchor on the bottom. My top lip is free. Exactly. Exactly. Now, so I start here some easy exercises.
Oh,
Da 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 da. I use it with piano, right? And I first get a feeling of that. Why don't you give it? Yeah, first like that. Try that. Just first like that, playing a few notes, Stefan.
Hey, you guys try it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Genau. So you can do like easy ones like that, see what works. And then I do the next step where I start on the bottom and I roll lightly onto the top lip. And so that I learn to not play right away with the pressure and more pressure on the bottom lip. Exactly like that. But I'll go da 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 da. Sorry.
So when
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I will do this in different positions. Yeah. So that's important for me. Also, from my experiences, I get students is way too much tension in the top lip and the chin, and the corners or the sides are just really flubbery. You know, that was my problem. I started out wrong, and to get the right connection. So that is important for me. The thing Sarah was talking about is I get my students at the very beginning is that they play it and then they blow out their whole face and then they come back. And this is for me the place where the face is the most relaxed. And that's what I want, the place where it's the least amount of resistance. So I start out of more of a relaxed position. Do you want to show what I mean, Sarah?
So screenshots are forbidden right now. Forbidden. No, Stefan, forbidden. Right? I think this is what Heidi means. Stop it, Stefan.
Exactly.
I look like Dizzy Gillespie.
Yeah, it looks very funny. Look,
I know you're all doing this. You're all doing the screenshots. Stop it immediately. So tell me again why we're doing this.
Yeah, you're doing this because for me, this is in your face. And then after a kid can learn to blow out and come back and forth, and then they have to start feeling the bottom of the bottom lip, bringing tension out of the chin.
What note is a good note to start?
C is great. Yeah, that's right.
Stefan, try it. It's not so easy. I'm going out again. I'm leaving you. Oh, you're so mean. Oh, God. So mean.
Slower. Slower.
Slower.
Oh, it doesn't work.
See?
Yeah, well, that's the direction. I mean, you guys can play, you don't need this, but for a young student that's starting the first time, they need to find out where am I relaxed and then what muscles need. And then I start bringing the bottom lip, and then I can do light, little scales, little Bindungen, slurs, say, C, and aufblasen. So they learn to make the changes from the bottom instead of the top.
That's really good advice for you guys. Make the changes from the bottom lip, not from the top, because at the end, when you're as old and as beautiful as we are, and you're putting too much pressure on your top lip, forget it. It's over. Right, Stefan?
Yeah. You are not very flexible if you put like this.
I mean, my experience is that the top lip works usually quite easily by itself. It's very nimble and it wants to do a lot. The corners want to do the thing. What's lazy is the chin muscles. And if I can access them and separate them as early as possible, then I think that's really important. And what's also important, yeah, exactly. What's important is I think there's a top I say it was a little rip in the top lip. We see lots of cracks in the lips, huh? And I'm trying to look, where's the most natural crack in the bottom lip? Not the most natural crack in the top lip, the natural crack in the bottom lip. And that's really, for me, the basis of building everything out of this bottom crack in the bottom lip. And that's
Heidi,
where I try and find it.
there are two questions. One's from you. We're going to talk about Gail is watching. Hey, Gail. She's just mentioned the Brophy book, which we'll get back to straight away. Gail, fantastic. The Brophy book is, I think, Heidi, you've even put a link to one of the Brophy
Love
exercises. Matthew James, Alex G says his roommates are like, what the hell are you listening to? Heidi, Matthew James asked, what would you suggest for students with larger lips who may not be able to start? I don't quite know what that means with larger lips. Is it a problem to not be able to get that low, I guess?
I think you need a very big mouthpiece because you can't
that's a big thing, a big discussion often. My experience is I've had different students that have set into the bottom lip. I've always found that's had limitations. My experience is to go anyways for the bottom on the break between the top, and sometimes they roll the bottom lip a little bit in. In the end, what's important to me is that they find the little crack in the bottom lip and they work with there, and then I let nature kind of work its own way. A little bit of rolling in. My experience has never been good to go in, but Fergus McWilliam, great horn player, he sits inside. Who am I to say? Everyone has to go their own journey.
And I would say also, based on what Stefan was just saying too, it's all about inner diameter of the mouthpiece, like making sure that you've got the JKs obviously have a lot of options, and like Schilke 31B for a lot of US players will play that, like has a bigger inner diameter. But that to me I find is really important from the get-go with folks with larger lips.
Let's get back to the technical stuff then later, like the mouthpiece question. I want to answer that, but let's play a little bit first, because I'm sensing everybody's here with their horns, and we want to play something. So after getting the right place for the mouthpiece, we're standing straight, we're standing or sitting straight. We picked the horn up, brought it to us. We've found the good position. We're blowing. Can you give us a few exercises, maybe a little bit later? What would you do, Annie? Have you got these on your list, or you've got some pieces?
The ones that I would, it's like I said, the ones I would find their first note. I usually try to teach a chromatic scale as quick as humanly possible. Hopefully within the first month or month and a half, plus the Herbert L. Clark's. I mean, that's definitely not lesson number one. But I will share real quick. One of the things I do in lesson number one is, after we figure out how many notes that they can play, I actually have them take home. I've made a set of flashcards, and I have them take home whatever the pitches are that they've got, plus a few extra on either side. And I have the B flat and F fingerings written on the back. And then we start working on both sides, learning both sides of the horn. But the students have to name the note and show the fingering, because I find some students will memorize the note to the fingering, or they might sometimes not be, reading the music. So we take those, and from there we just my two big things: chromatic scale and the Herbert L. Clark's, and then we jump into etudes and solos and.
What sort of an etude? Give us an etude. I've got a whole list of yours. If you're watching on the website, you can download these. Not all of them, because we don't want to breach any copyright. But we've got some really. Stefan, get over there. You'll get them all. I might send them to you later.
I'm on my way. Sorry, I was just like frozen for a second.
Oh, you're here. You're here. So
yes.
if you're watching on Facebook, get over to the website. That's where they are, and they'll be up there for the rest of the day. So Annie, tell us, which one shall I?
I often start with the Horner book, which I think, Sarah, might be the same book you started with. Is that right?
Anton Horner, Primary Studies, the blue cover.
And it's just a great place to start. It kind of, starts in a smaller range and then builds out. I know Heidi has a few that you use specifically as well. I made a list of mine. There's a PDF with all the ones I use for beginners.
Yeah. This one we all know. Oh no, there's no dotted there's da da da. That's a good one. What else have we've got? We've got Wilder, we've got Jesu. That would come a bit later, wouldn't it? Because that's like 4 sharps.
Yeah, what I often do is I find the students also, they are excited about the fundamentals, they're excited about the etudes, but they really just want to play stuff they know. And so I often start usually my very first solo, and I have a piano version of this, so they can do it even in a recital, is Ode to Joy. So, from Beethoven. And so we start with that one. It covers, I think, it has an octave in it total. And so we'll go to that one. And then, many months down the road, we'll start to go through other solo works. Do you want me to go through those now, Sarah, or come back to the solo?
Let's just keep. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting so excited. I'm getting ahead of myself. Stefan, I still want you to give us something that we can do right at the beginning to make sure that we're set up straight.
Yeah. So I often use a straw. And I've seen like Andrew Bain at Colburn, he uses a lot. But I often will use the straw to help kind of reiterate what Heidi was saying. So for me, it's the chin. The chin is very, very important, making sure that the two muscles here are really attached down to here. And then I talk about 4 quadrants and making sure, everything's coming. So everything's kind of coming forward and down. So making sure, yeah. And so and then it's like Heidi's saying about the top lip.
Can we use a mouthpiece?
Yeah, you can use the back of the mouthpiece too. You can use a pencil if you don't have a straw or a mouthpiece, worst case scenario, or a pen. But yeah, you're just forming the shape. That's really important so that what's in the mouthpiece is actually all blowing forward. And so that's, just making sure that there's not, I always find a lot of students, the top lip is not independent of the corners or the quadrants out here. And so I'm trying to really make sure what's happening in the mouthpiece is free and blowing.
Can Seymour show us exactly the muscles that we're using?
So one of my favorite things to tell students, which they're always like, whoa, in the first lesson, is that I use Seymour quite a bit, but so this muscle is called it's too early in the morning here. Orbicularis oris. So it's running, in a circle behind the lips. And my favorite thing is that it's the only muscle in the whole body that's not directly attached to bone. So that's why you can go, way off your face with it. And so this muscle is attached to a lot of other muscles. So if you really look like down here, these are the muscles Heidi's talking about, like that one underneath there. And this obviously has layers of muscles. And there's another one here. And then if you look, the reason the quadrants out here is so important is because they're all coming into our lips on either side. So all the weight of your embouchure is here and here. And that's why then, we're not really built, this poor muscle, this lip muscle is not really built to handle all this weight that a lot of people put on it. So that's where we're kind of coming from.
That's so interesting, isn't it, Stefan?
Very much. But now let's go back a step, because we just started the horn. Heidi, like easy exercises for the very beginners, what would you recommend?
Oh, I would go C, E, and G on the F horn. I'm a big fan. And play the normal and play, yeah.
Some of these.
Yeah, I would first start just tone for tone. I'm a big fan of looking for a great sound, first of all. Look where it sounds well, and then change to the next sound. When they both sound good, then move back and forth. Because I think that's the quickest way between the notes.
Stefan sounds pretty good on a high C.
Yeah, just play C slowly and then in E slowly. When it's good.
No, not that one. Yeah.
Not that one. In the middle with the.
Would you do it with tongue or without?
I would do it with tongue, without the tongue. I would just slur it. Come
on, Mr. Dohr, have a go.
No.
Yeah, but in the beginning, I would even take more time to find each note. Feel them with right down to your belly button. Just feel that note. Oh, that's a bit much. Tuck it in.
Oh, Stefan, your sound.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I think is important is I always like to start with sound. Where's my middle? And then change back and forth, light slurs. Then I like to alternate between tonguing and slurring. So just the C, E, and G. You don't have to use any vowels. Really easy, yeah?
Heidi, you're a big fan.
E.
You're a big fan of this Jürgen Runger book, aren't you?
I certainly am. I am.
And how soon? And where is that book? Is it in the list of your favorite etudes?
It's definitely in the list of my books. My experience is that kids are as different as us adults, and I like to the best book. My Jürgen Runge books are the best ones for having a really solid technique at the end of it. There are no pretty pictures in it, but I think the music is good enough that the kids are inspired by music. And I have first book.
Sorry, we're losing you.
Otis needs more time. Pardon me?
We were
Can you
losing
hear me?
just now. Yeah, now we know.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I use this book for a solid base, but if some kids need more time, then there's another book I recommend with lots of pictures and duos and a much easier and friendlier beginning. It's on my list.
Which one is it?
Rap. R-A. Rap. Mr. Rap.
Okay.
Yeah.
I sent this one, which I thought I really liked it because I'm a sort of very visual person. You know this, don't you, Annie?
Yeah, Karen Houghton's book.
Karen Houghton's book called Recipes for Success, and it's like a recipe book, and it's got what I like about it is a lot of duet stuff in there, because the sooner you can play together with someone, the better, I think. But it's got really it's got all the pretty pictures and stuff. Some kids are better with that, right?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book.
Yeah, you've got it too, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. I just love it. I love it.
But the Jürgen Runge books and the other one, they are really very basic. Do you remember what you played, Stefan, at the beginning?
Oh, lots of F horn and lots of, like, even with my former teacher together things. Yeah, I started on the single F horn, as most of us did, and I think it's a very good school, just to know about airstream and quality of sound and things like this. So very easy exercises. I have to say, I can have a look and find my books. I think I still have them.
All right. Well, we'd like to see those.
Sarah,
Heidi and Annie, can I just ask you something? Because a lot of people are asking about free buzzing. Yeah. And this is something that Stefan and I were talking about. We don't do that very often, at least not now. Would allowing the student to see how their lips buzz allow them to understand what's going on in their mouthpiece better? Or what are your opinions on free buzzing, visualizing, and at the beginning, that sort of thing? Annie, do you have a
wow, they're very different schools of thought on free buzzing and buzzing. I to be quite honest, I don't use a lot of buzzing with my students unless they're really having a really difficult time. And I know I'm probably setting myself in one camp here, but unless they're having a really difficult time, like focusing the sound, but I still feel like that's like, an air. And so, I to be quite honest, I didn't learn on that system. And so I don't use a lot of it. So I don't know if Heidi, if you do use a lot of free buzzing. I know there's some great schools of thought on this out there, but it's just not a system I actually use when I teach.
Heidi, what are your thoughts?
I say with limited amounts. I like a little bit at the beginning, and I like always to incorporate some buzzing while I'm playing a song or a piece. I think that's really fabulous. You can hear if the intonation is, you can clear up a lot of stuff with buzzing. My experience is if there's too much buzzing, it can make a person a bit tight. I don't want to do that. Yeah. And the focus is to stay with the air and with the instrument, but I think it's a great tester. What's fabulous with buzzing is if you're late for a gig and you're on your bike and you're going really fast, and I buzz my lips on the way to the gig. That's a great way to warm up. Exactly. If you're in a rush, I did it. Then I'm a big fan.
Good. Okay, how are we doing? I would like us to play something. What can we play? What would be next, Annie? Tell us. Stefan and I are trying to play something.
So I think the first thing is, like we were saying, the very beginning lessons, you might only have a note, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 5 if we're lucky. It just depends on where the student is. So obviously my number one thing is lots and lots of positive repetitions. So making sure we get just tons of repetition. So after we get to that point, you start maybe working on your Herbert Clark's, your etudes with Heidi. Then what I usually do, move into several kind of solos following. And Sarah, I sent you a few. I think they're up on your site. Yep. But one of my absolute favorite composers for young horn is Adrian Hallam. He's actually an Australian composer. I met him at the Australian IHS that Peter Luff hosted, and I just love his his imagination and the quirkiness of his music and creativeness of his music. And so one of my absolute favorites is a piece called Haunted, which all the students absolutely love. It's kind of like a take on a haunted house, and you use every extended technique. You use stopped horn, glisses, muted horn. There's even some, effects you do, like a shh off the horn, a scream even. And so
Stefan's getting nervous because we know what's coming.
And so anyway, so that's one of my favorite pieces, and he has a slew of great things out there, including another piece called Mobsters. So Stefan, I don't know do you have Haunted there?
So Adrian, just a sec, just before you start. Okay. I want to hear the zombies.
Zombies, wait, I jumped to the zombies. Next one would be the graveyard.
While Stefan is jumping to the zombies, he's going to play.
Oh, that's wrong. Sorry, it's just.
Okay, you zombie. Thank you, Stefan. Applause for Stefan from all around the world, please.
Wait, there's just the end.
Oh, yeah, the end. Let's have the grand finale. Guys, this is a fantastic piece, and Adrian, actually, Annie spoke to him yesterday. Adrian we didn't want to print it because, of course, we want to support composers and not steal their pieces. We've just seen Willards has just put up the link to his website, and he's put the piece on sale for us today. So if you go to the website, it's a fantastic piece. He's got a lot of stuff, hasn't he, Annie? For
yeah, just amazing amounts of even horn quartets, all kind of things. And so
this one is on sale today. So get to the website. It's on here. Get to the website. I'm going to order it because I want it as well.
And if you want to fly through just a few other small solos that are great for beginning, sure. One is called Circus Suite by Michael Horvit. And it's like one movement's elephants and march and all kind of
the elephants. I want the elephants.
I don't know if I sent y'all that one, but it's got clowns and elephants and all kind of fun things in it. And then, so that one's great. It's just, they're fun for the students. They're fun for the audiences. Everybody always loves them. And then another great book who's actually an LA-based French horn player, but he does a lot of arranging, and he has an entire company of different kinds of arrangements, is Dan Kelly. And he wrote a great set of 18 sacred and spiritual solos, and then another set for actually the holidays. And one of the ones I love for my students is a arrangement of Jesu, because it actually is in the key of E. When, how often do we play in the key of E in the first few years? And it's in 6/8, so we get to work through that as well. And it also uses a lot of trigger 2 and 3. It's got a lot of G sharps.
How slowly would you do that?
Just like. Some of my students will take it fairly slow, like da da.
Oh, that's hard for the third finger, huh?
And I would actually say too, this is a great exercise. It's one I learned from a bunch of the pianists who do hand-on techniques, but it's called your independent. So if you put your left hand up, this is great to check in on your third finger. But
what do I have to do?
So put your left hand up like you're hitchhiking. So the hand you play the horn with, and then off the horn, and then try to put each finger out individually. And a lot of my students, it looks like I'm doing something terrible, but then the fourth finger is the one that oftentimes people have a hard time moving by itself. And so you want to work to get it so you can actually move so off the horn. So taking the horn off, just doing this without the horn. And so if you put the horn down and try it, Sarah, and so it's like so try to do each finger individually, and then do the fourth finger, and you'll find a lot of students will find they have to move multiple fingers at the same time. And so if you really work to do that one by itself, then it will actually speed up your third finger.
It's hard. It hurts.
Yeah. and then you could also work 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, and make sure. Try to get...
No.
Oh, I didn't do it.
No.
I do this and then I do that one. I left out the other one. Just maybe one more question to Heidi, because I know you've started very early to let your pupils play like trios, quartets, duets, and whatever. At what age or what, when they've started the horn, like for a couple of months or whatever, when would you recommend to start like playing together?
Oh, I mean, as soon as possible, right? It depends on the kid. Some kids are more capable of holding their sound. I would start with duos. Maybe they have a buddy that also plays duos, and I see if they're ready. I have quartets that can start after a year. I mean, that's a very ambitious quartet. I had one, and or I've had several, and I'm a big fan of horn quartets and horn trios. That's really one of the big bases and inspirations of my class, because it feels a feeling of a class, and they learn to work group. You need this for the orchestra later. It's really been very, very important, an inspiring part of my horn class. Absolutely. So as soon as possible.
Are any of Heidi's horn quartetters or trios watching? Because they sent me a video for my birthday this year. I was very grateful for that. If you're watching, write in. Clemmy, are you watching? Let us know. And Annie, there's a message for you from Dylan and Henry, and they say, hi, Mama. That's so nice.
Hi, Mama. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Where's breakfast?
Yeah. Listen. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
No, go on.
There's something I would like to say. When I practice etudes, I think this is a very good system that works for me for working with kids when they have an etude for teaching. One of the first things, many kids can't read notes yet. So what I do is I get them to sing the names of the notes, move the fingering so they have immediately this connection with the names of the notes and the fingerings, and then they sing it, right? So they have immediately fingerings and the pitch, and first that. And then after I do that with toe, where they say toe without saying the names of the notes, but then they get right into the phrasing. Right, and this I always go through this level. Toe, like toe,
not TT, toe.
I say toe, or I say O with the bottom lip, and I say U with the tongue. That's how I separate it. Okay, now, and then I get the kids to. Yeah, and this is a bit based on what Fergus always did, right? And then I do buzzing, right? They have to buzz it on the mouthpiece so they can really hear if they're buzzing the notes. Sometimes I get them to kip the mouthpiece so it's more on the bottom lip, away from the top lip. Again, supporting that it comes from the bottom. Sometimes I get the kids to play all of it totally blown out. So they are forced to make all the changes, again, out of the chin, because it happens so fast that the kids go into the top. So they hate that. They just hate that, all of it, and they complain it, but I make them do it anyways because I'm a mean person. Fergus recommended Emma whistling. I can't whistle. So I skipped that step, but I let them whistle. He seemed to feel that was good for the tongue position.
Everybody together? So why are we whistling, Heidi?
I don't whistle because I can't whistle. I have no idea. But Fergus always was a fan of that because he said that showed the tongue position.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use that a lot. I teach it.
Annie, Heidi, Stefan, Annie, you use that as well.
Yeah, whistling a lot. It helps. It also helps the students learn to focus their air out of their mouth, and so. Yeah, I actually, if they can't whistle, I actually give them as a homework assignment, and they watch a lot of YouTube videos, so they figure it out.
But some people can't whistle, they just can't whistle. Anyways.
Well, thanks to YouTube. There's a question for you, Annie. Well, there's two. There's Bob Bosler, hi from Granddad. You got the whole family out today. Oh, Fronau Horn, Clemmy is watching. Great, Clemmy. Hello, Clemmy plays. You know what? Your students, Heidi, they do a really good job at Christmas. They go out in the coldest weather and they play horn quartets, and everyone thinks, oh, how cute. And they give them a lot of money. Stefan, I think we need to do that. Well, we might have to actually soon.
We did that when we were studying. We played all horn quartets, sure.
And it's like.
And at that time, we didn't have these plastic mouthpieces. So it was really like, ooh.
There's nothing like freezing mouthpieces.
Oh, nice plastic rim is something really useful.
Annie,
Well, my
Francis-
trio,
Yeah.
I have to say, my trio, for 1 hour playing, they got a 240 euros one time last
Right.
Christmas. 240.
Right. That's what Stefan and I are doing next year. Oh, well, actually next week by the looks of things.
Yeah, we play Last Christmas all the time.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Francis has asked, and I know, Annie, this is a big thing with you. Do you have a trick how to learn to transpose quickly?
Yeah, I actually start working with my students on transposition basically usually within the first year, as long as after we get the notes down and they can actually really truly read all the notes on the page and the music and the fingerings are there. We'll start transposing. And I mean, there's a couple different systems. Some people actually literally change the clef. I'm not quite sure. I don't do that. But what I usually say is that you're holding a French horn in F, pitched in F. The whole thing is pitched, we're taught it pitched in F. And then you're going to whatever horn you're going to. And so you think of F as this bass and you think of the other pitch G here, E flat here. What's the fastest way to get there? And then, I think of that as the formula. And then so it's like a math problem. And then you apply the math problem to the key and to the notes. So you're always thinking in the key that you're going to. And I start my students in that Horner book we were talking about was earlier, transposing. And so therefore, then going to Coprosh or an excerpt is not bad. But I started a student 8 years old, and he's now a junior in high school. And I mean, he can play B natural horn transpositions, A flat horn transposition, F sharp. It's like crazy fast.
He needs an opera job.
I know.
Third horn.
So I mean, for Francis who's asking how to practice, it's basically you've got to practice it. I mean, it's just
it's just a skill. It's like I think of it learning to read another language so you're reading English and you're speaking something else. That's exactly what we're doing when we transpose. And so it just takes a lot of practice and just a little bit every day. 4 measures, turns into 8 measures and so on.
What do both?
I'm really sorry. I will have to leave you because I have a student coming up at 4.
Oh yeah, well we're going to wrap up very soon. Stefan, we need a photo though. We always have to do a photo, and because the girls are wearing their Horn Hangout t-shirts, while Stefan is doing that, we're not going to wrap up just yet. I've got a few more questions for you. Oh, you are good. Oh my goodness me, Heidi, let's see your t-shirt. Ready? Oh, okay. Ready, guys. We need your selfies. 1, 2, 3. Yes. And again.
Oh, okay.
Great. Okay, Stefan, thank you for joining us. I'm going to finish up.
See you soon. Very
Stefan.
Bye, Stefan.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Annie. Bye. See you soon.
Thank you.
We've got to wrap up because we've been going for an hour. Can you believe this?
It's been fast.
Unbelievable. But there's been so many people watching, and I think I would love to do this again with you, and we can move on a little bit. And I know we have so much stuff that we didn't even get to, but I'm who knows how long we're going to be in this situation. So if you're both up for it, I would love that. And if for you, those of you watching, let us know your questions, because then we can plan what we can talk about next time. Do either of you have, what would you say are your the most important things to watch out for when you've got a beginner and someone in the early stages of horn playing? What, I'm sure you're both going to say exactly the same, but just tell me anyway. Annie?
Yeah, I think it's the practicing, to be quite honest. It's making sure that it's, like I said before, just getting lots of positive repetitions. It's something I really believe in, and just making sure that you have a good, I feel like students don't always know how to practice. I mean, that could be its own entire hour, but, just setting up giving them a really good plan. And for the students too, having a goal. And then that's what you really focus on in every practice session. What do you come into the lesson with? But just really making sure that you have a plan and a goal, and that your positive repetitions are truly positive, and that they're leading you on a great path.
Yeah. I'm into that. Heidi?
I'm really into this good beginning. I'm really watching that the posture is good. I'm really watching that they're centered here. And I'm really watching that the kids are singing. I really value a lot that there's always this singing going on, or movement and thinking and gestures. And I trust that comes with time in the music and the horn. But if those basics are not sitting right at the beginning, then it just gets stuck later. And they can practice all they want.
And for maybe amateur players who've come back to it later in life, it's exactly the same, isn't it? You know, you want to, even
Absolutely.
if you're saying, okay, it's just for fun and maybe I'm 60 and I haven't played it for, it's still the same. You'll have so much more fun with the horn if you're doing it right, if you're relaxed, if your posture's right, if you're the chin down. Heidi's been on about the chin for years and years. You do. I knew you did a screenshot. So one of your kids, and one of us at the digital concert hall, you can watch all of our chins. It's it's so right what you're saying, because any muscle, and you can see it on Seymour. Seymour wouldn't do that, would he, when he played? Would he? He wouldn't. So why do we? Actually, it's quite a good facelift, isn't it? No,
Oh, it's easy. It's easy, huh?
it's easier to do that. Yeah, it's easier to smile than to go, mm.
And no cottage cheese chins. That's what I call them. No cottage cheese.
Cottage
That-
cheese.
And no cottage cheese chins.
You two, you've really been fantastic. Annie, I know you have a giveaway for us
Oh,
today. May I-
yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
no.
an amazing book. You probably seeing it backwards, probably.
Yeah,
you-
I was fortunate enough to get to write a co-author book with Don Green, the performance psychologist, and Kathy Teasar, who's head of admissions at Juilliard, and it's for high school students. So I think I've got five for Sarah to give away.
So if you guys want these, I want the first 5 people to write college prep for musicians in the chat and go now, and then you have to send us a message to the website. So go. The first 5, Annie will send out this book to you, which is really, really great. The system's different in Germany, but Heidi, we're going to get you one too, because I think you...
Oh, I want to get this book. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'll write your name in the chat.
But I can't, because I can't go into the chat. I'm busy.
So Annie,
I got to
thank
get
you
it.
for that. I think we could move on next time to a little bit, more advanced players. But thank you so much for your time, Annie. Thank you for getting up. You both are available for Skype lessons or FaceTime or Zoom or whatever it is. If any of you want to contact them, I think I might. It's just great to go back to the beginnings. Thank you so much, really. Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
M has got it. Kelly M, Janet Nye, and Amateur Shipping. Right. Oh. Well, maybe the first. Oh God, no. Okay, you guys. Well, I'll get in the chat in a sec. I'm going to talk to you guys in the chat. So we'll say goodbye though first, and thank you, Annie Bosler, Heidi Wessel in Berlin, Annie Bosler in LA, who's going to go and have breakfast with her gorgeous husband Dylan and her gorgeous son Henry, and you're going to go and have tea with your gorgeous husband Aegon, your gorgeous son Adrian, who is a horn player. I think Heidi's frozen, so it may be the moment to say goodbye. Thanks for joining us. Hey guys, Friday night, party night. We're having the horns back. Oh, there she is. Heidi's come back.
Oh, there you are. Lost you. Sorry.
No, we were just saying goodbye, and thank you so much. And send my love to Adrian, who's her son and who's a horn player. I think he prefers video games to practicing, but
No.
we're not gonna. After this hangout, he's gonna be so inspired. Thank you. Friday night is Horn Hangout night. You'll see all the details on the website. 9 p.m. Berlin time. You know the time of the party. We'll have some surprises for you. We'll see you then. Meanwhile, girls, thank you so much. See you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Annie.